Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Francis Garcia, 6.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Ms. Garcia, you're here on a Superior Court new case, a Superior Court failure to appear warrant, and on a Superior Court probation failure to appear warrant as well. So in your new case, ma'am, I find probable cause for the allegations of one count of possession or use of dangerous drugs and one count of possession, two counts of possession or use of narcotic drugs. Those are both Class 4 felonies. One count of possession or use of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony. One count of resisting arrest using passive resistance, a Class 1 misdemeanor. One count of shoplifting, removal of goods, and one count of shoplifting, concealment. Those are both Class 1 misdemeanors. Ms. Garcia, I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 15th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 18th, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Ms. Garcia, you were on felony release at the time you were arrested on these new felonies. By law, that means you are non-bondable at this time, so you will have an evidentiary hearing November 15th at 1:30 p.m. The judge at that time will determine whether you are bondable and what your bond and release conditions will be. Then, Ms. Garcia, regarding your ongoing matter, failure to appear warrant, you have a status conference November 15th, 8:31 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I've affirmed the bond, the amount of $4,500. Don't pay that bond, though, because you're non-bondable at this time. Even if you were to pay your bond, you would not be released, and by not paying the bond, that means the time you spend in custody right now will count towards time served in this case. Also, Ms. Garcia, you have a failure to appear in your probation matter, and you have a disposition hearing November 15th, 8:31 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I've appointed you an attorney, bonds in the amount of $500. Again, don't pay that bond for the reasons I just explained. Ms. Garcia, do you have any questions? All right. Thank you, ma'am. Good luck to you. Troy Begay, and then Eric Uriar will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Troy Begay, 12.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. Mr. Begay, you're here on a Superior Court probation violation warrant and on a Superior Court new case. But we'll start with the probation matter. So, sir, this is for alleged violations of terms 14 and 15. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing scheduled November 15th at 8:30 a.m. That'll be at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Begay, you are non-bondable in your probation case.
Yes.
So you will remain in custody until the 15th, and that's when you'll see the probation judge who will decide what will happen going forward. Then regarding your new case, I find probable cause for the allegation of one count of possession or use of dangerous drugs, which is a Class 4 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 15th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 18th, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I've set bond just in the amount of $50. This is a placeholder bond. Don't pay this bond. Even if you were to pay it, you wouldn't be released. And by not paying it, that means the time you spend in custody right now, it can count towards the time served in this case. Mr. Begay, do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. Eric Uriar and then Michael Simser will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Eric Uriar, January.
Thank you, Mr. Uriar. Sir, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations of one count of armed robbery with a deadly weapon. That's a Class 2 felony. One count of possession of a weapon by a prohibited person, a Class 4 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 15th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 18th, 8:31 a.m. That'll be at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse.
Yeah, I know what you guys.
Oh, Mr. Uriar, if you can please wait. When I'm finished, Mr. Uriar, I'll give you an opportunity to be heard, but please don't interrupt me. So, sir, I have set bond the amount of $50,000. It is a secured appearance bond. That means you can pay that amount directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $50,000 would be $5,000. If you pay your bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You will have an ankle monitor installed, and you must comply with pretrial services supervision. You also must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you are not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You are not to possess any weapons as well. Mr. Uriar, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I don't know what armed robbery you're talking about, so.
Well, so what's alleged is that you brandished a firearm at another individual and you were asking for money and you brandished a firearm and pointed it at him. So that's the armed robbery. Do you have any other questions, sir?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Uriar. Michael Simser and then DeAndre King will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Michael Simster, James.
Thank you, Mr. Simser. Sir, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations of 4 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. That's a Class 4 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 15th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 18th, 8:31 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Simser, I have set a secured appearance bond in the amount of $25,000. Secured appearance means you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $25,000 would be $2,500. If you pay your bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You will have an ankle monitor installed, and you must comply with pretrial services supervision. You also must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're also not to possess any weapons, and you must submit to DNA testing at the arresting police department. Mr. Simser, do you have any questions?
Will I be provided a paper with all these dates on it, Your Honor?
Yes, you will. Just when you're walking out of the courtroom, you'll be provided that sheet.
Okay. No other questions.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
DeAndre King and then Oscar Montez will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
DeAndre Jamal King, 4.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. King, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegation of 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. That's a Class 3 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 15th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 18th, 8:31 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. King, I have set bond in the amount of $5,000. That is a secured appearance bond, so you can pay that amount directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. That would be $500. If you pay your bond, you'll be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You will have an ankle monitor installed, and you must comply with pretrial services supervision. You also must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. You must submit to DNA testing at the arresting police department. And, I'm sorry, Jacqueline, I've got one small edit here. Also, Mr. King, you may have no contact with any victims for any reason, even if they contact you first. You may not reside at the same location as an alleged victim, even if you are an owner or renter of the residence. You are entitled to 1 civil standby. That's where you contact local law enforcement, schedule a time to meet an officer. That officer will then escort you to the residence so that you can obtain your essential belongings. Mr. King, do you have any questions?
Yes. They said I got into it was with my mom. And did she drop the charges? I don't think she even filed charges because the last time I was at the other location, the other jail. They were saying that my mom didn't file any charges.
So I don't know whether she So it's not up to her to drop the charges. She can decide that she doesn't wish to press charges, and then the prosecutor's office can decide whether they wish to pursue the case or not.
Oh, okay.
So at this time, I don't have any information about that. Basically, Mr. King, the prosecutor's office has 48 hours to file charges. If they don't file charges in 48 hours, they may still file charges in the future on this case. But if they don't file charges within 48 hours, then you would be released on this case at this time. Do you have any other questions, Mr. King?
My mom is the one that takes care of me. See, I'm autistic. And so I wouldn't be able to be around my mom?
So at this time, you could not be around your mom. That's correct. Now, another judge can modify these release conditions and may decide to do so. But at this time...
My uncle lives in the same complex as me, but he lives downstairs.
Okay.
Would I be able to live with him?
So it's the same complex?
Yeah. It's just...
Your mom's on the upper level?
My uncle is downstairs. That's it.
Well, here's what I'll say, Mr. King, is that might be possible. Definitely check with the police first about that, okay? All right. Do you have any other questions, Mr. King?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. King. Good luck to you. Oscar Montez and then Tyler Moore will be on deck.
Good morning, Judge.
Afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Oscar Montes.
Thank you, Mr. Montez. Mr. Montez, you're here on 2 Superior Court probation violation warrants, 4 alleged violations of terms 6, 7, 12, and 14. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing November 15th, 8:30 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Montez, I am setting bond amount of $1,500 in each warrant. Total bond is $3,000. Those are secured appearance bonds, meaning you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral, which would be $300. If you pay your bonds, you'll be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Mr. Montez, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to thank you, Judge, for having mercy.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Montez.
Yeah.
Tyler Moore and then Louis Ramirez will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Tyler Moore, 5.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, you're here on 3 Superior Court probation violation warrants and on a Justice Court new case. We'll start with the probation violation warrants. These are for alleged violations of terms 3 and 5. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing November 15th, 8:30 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Moore, I am affirming bond the amount of $500 in each of these bonds. So that's $1,500 for your probation cases. I've set a $500 bond in your Justice Court case. So your total bond is $2,000. Those are secured appearance bonds. That means you can pay those directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $2,000 would be $200. If you pay your bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must submit to fingerprinting of the arresting police department and contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Then, Mr. Moore, regarding your Justice Court case, I find probable cause for the allegations of 1 count of resisting arrest using passive resistance, a Class 1 misdemeanor, 1 count of obstruction of justice, refusing to provide your true name, 1 count of failure to obey a police officer, and 1 count of criminal damage. Those are all Class 2 misdemeanors. I've appointed you an attorney in this case for the limited representation regarding the bond issue only. You have an arraignment hearing at the West McDowell Justice Court November 14th, 8:30 a.m. As I stated earlier, I've set bond amount of $500, and you have those same conditions and restrictions of release as I stated earlier. Mr. Moore, do you have any questions?
Yes. How much should I tell my mom to? Where does she have to go to pay that?
So I believe it can be done online. It can be done by phone, or I think she can go down to the 4th Avenue jail to make the payment there.
The 4th Avenue jail?
Correct. And $2,000 is the total amount that's owing. So she can pay $2,000, and that will allow you to be released. If she doesn't have the $2,000, She can work with I don't know if she can or you, but one of you can work with a bail bonding company, put up the collateral.
What is collateral?
So collateral would be property. So a vehicle, something along those lines, a house, jewelry, etc. That's usually what you're going to see as collateral.
So I'm not going to get released today?
No, not unless you pay the bond. Do you have any other questions, Mr. Moore?
So I'll probably be in here on Christmas?
No, I don't. Well, I don't know what's going to happen at your next hearing. So understand you've got to see the probation judge on the 15th. That's of November. That's still before Thanksgiving and well before Christmas. The probation judge will decide whether to reinstate your probation.
Sorry.
Just one moment. And then in your other case, again, your first court date's the 14th. So both of those are going to be next week.
So I have two court dates, 14 and 15?
Correct. 14th in the new case, 15th in your probation cases. Any other questions, Mr. Moore?
No. So I'll probably keep me there on the 14th, 15th, or what is it?
I don't know. I'll say often people have their probation reinstated, but I'm not making any promises. I mean, this appears to be your first violation.
Yeah.
So often that's the case. But again, I can't make you a promise or a prediction as to what the judge is going to do. I also don't know what the judge is going to do in the justice court case.
Yeah, it's just because my son's going to be born on Christmas Day, you know? So
No, I'm sure you want to be there for that. I certainly think it's possible that you can be there for that. Understand that these are the bonds that I've set in place. Another judge can decide to release you or can reduce the bonds to a lower amount. Do you have any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
You're welcome.
Louis Ramirez and then Nicholas Lucarelli will be at. Oh, Mr. Moore, just one moment. Sorry, if you can just come back just one moment. Here's just what I want to say, Mr. Moore, is because you're saying your son's being born on Christmas. I don't want you to miss that. I'm not changing anything here, but what I want you to know is that understand that you have the power to be there if you have your probation reinstated. It's going to depend on you making probation your highest priority.
I want to do that.
So if you make probation number one, it does not matter what else happens. You lose a job, you lose your phone. There are people who, no matter what, will make sure that they get in touch with their probation officer. And there's other people who will always find an excuse as to why they can't do it. And I'm sure that sometimes those are good excuses. Sometimes life's really tough. But there's other people, it doesn't matter how good the excuse is, they make it happen. And so if you don't want to come back here, you want to make sure to be there for your son, make probation your highest priority. Everything else will fall in place after that. So good luck to you, Mr. Moore.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Welcome. Louis Ramirez and then Nicholas Lucarelli will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Louis Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez, you're here on a Superior Court probation violation warrant, two of them, and these are for failure to appear. So you have a probation hearing November 15th, 8:30 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I've appointed you an attorney. Bond is the amount of $1,000 in both of these cases. Total bond is $2,000 secured appearance. That means you can pay that amount directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $2,000 would be $200. If you pay your bonds, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates, and you're promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. You must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department and contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Mr. Ramirez, do you have any questions?
Yeah, when did I catch this case?
So this goes back to 2021, sir.
I ain't been in trouble in like 3 years. I just been trying to stay out the way, so I don't.
Let's see. Yeah, so, I mean, you were here in 2021. You paid a bond to be released, and then you never showed up again. That's the issue. So these go back to 2021.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Mr. Ramirez?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you. Nicholas Lucarelli and then Jesus Cordova Garcia will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Nicholas Lucarelli,
Thank you, Mr. Lucarelli. Mr. Lucarelli, you're here on 2 Superior Court probation violation warrants for alleged violations of terms 3 and 5. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing on November 15th at 8:30 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I am affirming bond the amount of $1,000 in one case, $500 in the other. Total bond is $1,500. Those are secured appearance bonds, meaning you can pay those directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $1,500 would be $150. If you pay your bonds, you'll be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons, you're not to possess or consume any alcohol, and you must contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Mr. Lucarelli, do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you. Jesus Cordova Garcia and then Daniel Campos will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Jesus Cordova?
Mr. Cordova. Mr. Cordova, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegation, 1 count of unlawful flight from law enforcement in a vehicle, which is a Class 5 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 15th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 18th, 8:31 a.m. That'll be at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Cordova, I am setting bond in the amount of $1,000. That is a secured appearance bond. That means you can pay that amount directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $1,000 would be $100. If you pay that bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You must comply with pretrial services supervision and with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you are not to possess any weapons. Mr. Cordova, do you have any questions?
If I was to able to have the $1,000 by the end of the week, I can go pay that, the full amount?
Correct, yeah. At any point you pay the bond, then you will be released.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cordova.
Thank you.
Daniel Campos and then Alicia Rodriguez will be on deck.
Hello, Judge.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Daniel Campos, 7.
Oh, sorry. What's the date of birth again?
July.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Campos, you're here on a Superior Court new case and on a direct complaint arrest warrant. So the direct complaint, actually, just a moment. Excuse me, both of these have the same charges. So the new case, which you've been arrested in, I find probable cause for the charges. And in the new case, you are charged with 1 count of possession, use of narcotic drugs, a Class 4 felony, 1 count of possession, use of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony. Again, I don't know that I was totally clear. Those charges are the same in your new case that you were arrested for. So I find probable cause for those charges in your new case. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 22nd, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 26th, 8:31 a.m. That'll be at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Campos, I am going to release you on supervised release. So that means you're going to leave here in about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're promising to comply with pretrial services supervision and with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. Yeah. Mr. Campos, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you. Alicia Rodriguez and then Uriel Peralta Ilescas will be on deck. Excuse me. Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Alicia Rodriguez.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez, you're here on a Superior Court direct complaint arrest warrant. You're charged with 1 count of possession or use of dangerous drugs. It's a Class 4 felony. Alleged offense dates December 21st, 2023. So I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 22nd, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 26th, 8:31 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to release you on your own recognizance. So you are going to leave here in about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates and promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Rodriguez, do you have any questions?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Yes, sir.
Uriel Alescas and then Nicole Mossi will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Uriel Peralta Yescas, 0.
Thank you, Mr. Alescas. Sir, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations of 2 counts of aggravated DUI because you had a passenger under the age of 15 in your vehicle. That's a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 22nd, 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing November 26th, 8:31 a.m. That is at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Alescas, I am going to release you on your own recognizance. I do not see any criminal history that you have, so that's why I'm releasing you on your own recognizance. That means you'll leave here in about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Okay. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates.
Yeah.
And you're promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess or consume any alcohol. Mr. Alescas, do you have any questions?
But all the court dates and all that, it's in the paperwork?
Yeah, all of that information will be in your
Okay.
paperwork. Yeah, when you leave to your left, they'll hand you the paperwork. It'll have all that in it. Mr. Alescas, if for some reason you lose your paperwork, you can always call down to the court. You can look up your case online as well if you go to the Maricopa County Superior Court website.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Nicole Mossi and then Bernadette Romero will be on deck.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Nicole Massey, 19.
Thank you, Ms. Massey. Ms. Massey, you are here on a Superior Court direct complaint arrest warrant in which you're charged with 2 counts of possession and use of dangerous drugs and 1 count of possession and use of narcotic drugs. Those are both Class 4 felonies. 1 count of possession and use of drug paraphernalia, which is a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 22nd, 8:31 a.m., and a preliminary hearing November 26th, 8:31 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Ms. Massey, I am releasing you on your own recognizance, so that means you're going to leave here in approximately 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates and promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. There are no additional ones than that.
Okay.
Ms. Massey, do you have any questions?
No, sir. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, ma'am. Good luck to you. Bernadette Romero and then Carl Jonas will be on deck. Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Bernadette Romero, 10.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. Ms. Romero, you are here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations 1 count of possession or use of dangerous drugs. It's a Class 4 felony. 1 count of possession or use of drug paraphernalia, which is a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 22nd, 8:31 a.m., and a preliminary hearing November 26th, 8:31 a.m. It's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Ms. Romero, I reviewed your probation notes. It looks like you've been in good contact with your probation officer. So for that reason, I am going to release you on your own recognizance. That means you'll leave here in about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you are promising to go to court on all of your court dates, and you're promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department within 5 days of today's date, and you must contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Ms. Romero, then you have your 4 probation cases. Because of the new arrest, you have an alleged Term 1 violation in each of those cases. So I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing November 15th, 8:30 a.m., downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse, and I am releasing you on your own recognizance in these cases. So again, you'll be on your way in about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Same conditions and restrictions of release as I stated earlier. Ms. Romero, do you have any questions?
Where I go to for the fingerprinting?
Oh, for the fingerprinting? So I'm not sure who the arresting agency was.
Okay.
So whoever the arresting agency was, reach out to them. They may have already taken your fingerprints,
Yeah.
but if for some reason they didn't, reach out to them anyway, and they'll let you know whether you need to come in.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. Good luck to you.
All right, thanks.
Carl Jonas, and then we'll take care of our house calls. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Carl Jack Jonas Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas. Mr. Jonas, you have 2 warrants from the state of Missouri. Before you came in here, did you have an opportunity to review the paperwork for extradition? Yes, that paperwork.
I do not understand it at all, sir.
Okay, that's okay. I'll explain it, and you can ask me any questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. So, as I said, you have 2 warrants from the state of Missouri. So, you have a choice to make at this time. You can choose to waive your right to an extradition hearing, and you'll be sent back to Missouri within 30 days, or you can demand an extradition hearing and that a governor's warrant be signed by the governors of both states, Arizona and Missouri, before you're sent back to Missouri. If you choose to waive your right to an extradition hearing, you would be held non-bondable in Maricopa County Jail for a period of up to 30 days to allow for Missouri to come and pick you up. That 30 days will start tomorrow as long as you do not have any local charges pending. If you do have any local cases here in Arizona, then the 30 days will not begin until those local charges are resolved. So if you choose to have an extradition hearing, and again, it's totally up to you. You don't have to choose one. I mean, you have to choose one, but it's not like you should choose one or the other. But so if you decide you want the extradition hearing, then that would be on November 18th at 1:30 p.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I cannot appoint an attorney to represent you in these cases because extradition matters are civil in nature. However, you can hire an attorney at your own expense if you wish to do so. You are entitled to bond, which in these 2 cases, it's a $10,000 cash-only bond in each case, so total bond would be $20,000. If you're unable to post that bond, you will be held in custody during that time or until another judge modifies your bond. The governor's warrant signed by the governors of both states is required to extradite you to Missouri. That process could take up to 90 days. So, Mr. Jonas, do you have any questions? Do you know which option you wish to go with?
I have no idea which options. Your Honor, I have attempted to pay for the fines that I knew of, but every single time the money order or paying online, it didn't go through. I do not know how to operate this.
Okay.
If that's what you say. I am working, but considering I won't be there to pick up my check, I won't be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I can't really give you advice one way or another. I guess what I'd say is if you don't know, so another judge can modify the bond. If you don't know what to do at this point, if you're not sure that you want to agree to be extradited, then you can have your hearing on November 18th. The judge at the time will go through these options again. So at that time, you could agree to the extradition. You can talk to the judge about possibly reducing the bond. If at this point you know you want to agree to the extradition, then the 30 days will start tomorrow as long as you don't have local charges pending. I don't see any local charges. That doesn't mean that there aren't any, but I don't see any at this time. So, and then essentially what happens is Missouri has 30 days starting tomorrow. If on day 31 they haven't picked you up, we open the door, you're able to go free at that point, but that doesn't mean Missouri can't still file a new warrant in the future. So at that point, if that does happen, it would behoove you to go to Missouri and get it resolved somehow.
All right. Your Honor, I have another question.
Yeah, of course.
Is there a way possible to go and get my check and cash it so at least I have something to put towards it, or what do I do?
Yeah, so unfortunately, sir, I don't have the ability to do something like that. I mean, you could see if a friend or family member could pick up the check on your behalf.
But they can't cash it. That's the problem.
Okay. You could talk to the officers about this. I don't know whether it's a possibility. Sometimes what can happen is they can release your property to somebody. I don't know if somebody can bring a check and have you sign it and then that goes back to them. Officers, do you know whether that's a possibility?
You got to wrestle with the check in possession.
No, the check is at my job, and it will be at my job by next Thursday because next Monday is a holiday, correct?
Yeah, Monday is a holiday.
So it'll take an extra day to get to the Chandler store, and then my boss would receive it, bring it to the store.
They don't have anything else. You'd have to get like some type of approval, because they don't have the in-person visit, unless the attorney writes a check or something.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I can't afford an attorney, sir.
Yeah. Well, I genuinely wish there was more I could do, Mr. Jonas. Yeah, I mean, so part of the problem is I have very limited information, right? I don't even, all I know is that there are warrants from the state of Missouri. That has been confirmed. They do want you to be returned to the state of Missouri. So if you decide to have the hearing on November 18th, that judge will have more information about your case.
Okay.
And I don't know if that judge has the ability to say, hey, if he brings a check down, let's, I don't know simply what happens at that hearing, whether that would be a possibility to get your check signed at that time. Although, well, I guess what I could tell you is, I can't guarantee that you could get the check signed on the 18th. What I can tell you is if you had a friend or family member come to court on the 18th, you could certainly make that request to the judge, that you could sign it, to have somebody else be able to cash that check for you, and then that could be a possibility.
The only issue is the majority of that check has to go towards rent, or my fiance will become homeless again. So I do not know what to do, Your Honor.
Okay. And again, this isn't advice-wise, but if you don't know what to do, if you're not completely sure that you are agreeing to be extradited, then the best thing to do, what I would do anyway would be to have that hearing for you on the 18th.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. So I understand you do not want to sign the paperwork at this time agreeing to the extradition. So sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, because I'm not sure it's the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
because possibilities of working things out might happen.
Right.
So I think I will stay here, go to the court, talk to the judge, figure out how to contact my fiance, even though I don't know her phone number right now.
Okay.
And figure it out from there.
Okay. And sometimes, Mr. Jonas, what I've heard is that sometimes bail bonding companies are willing to find somebody. I can't guarantee that would happen here, but I'm just letting you know that that is a possibility. So.
And the only way that I can pay it is if I actually work, so there's another difficulty.
No, I understand, Mr. Jonas, and again, I don't have the ability to put someone on work release. That's just not one of the abilities I have here.
The next judge might have that, correct, sir?
Yeah, I don't know if the next judge does have that, but I know the next judge absolutely has the ability to reduce the bond.
Okay.
And I am aware of cases where the judge has, in fact, done that.
All right.
Okay. All right, Mr. Jonas, so like I said, your bond's the amount of $10,000 cash in each case, $20,000 cash total. November 18th, 1:30 p.m., downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. That will be your fugitive from justice hearing, where the judge will go through these options again. If you post bond, make sure you attend all court dates or a warrant will issue for your arrest. Mr. Jonas, do you have any questions?
No.
All right.
Except for one, what do I do now?
So you'll go back. The officers will let you know where you're going to go next.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jonas. Good luck to you.
Thank you.